prepared yet.
You need to try and pick off the units as. Look at the shields on the mark.
Oh my god, the ball is going to take him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Shakuras Plateau, which is actually a kind of space wildlife reserve, if you didn't know.
I know. I'd love to go on holiday here.
Would be kind of cool, honestly. I mean, there's some wonderful views. There's the pools of death that are full of carnivorous little beasties.
Oh, the balcony looks amazing.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty. I've just come up with a new word, actually. I've combined cool and awesome into Corsome.
Corsome.
Oh, hell yes. Is ThorZaIN Corsome? I think so. Well, whatever the case, he is in the blue trunks, and he is from Team Mouse Sports to the southwest. He's playing Terran versus his opponent, the one and only mOoNan from Team FXO. He is in the red trunks. He's playing Terran as well, over to the northeast.
And if you didn't know really about mOoNan, he used to actually be a semi-professional Brood War player in Korea. Did play for the team KTF. Failed the final draft, but had a lot of experience. And I think the one matchup which you compare to StarCraft 1 is probably TVT, is the most similar out of all the matchups in StarCraft 2. So no surprise there why he has such a solid TVT.
Yep. I'm curious, actually, considering we've probably got a lot of viewers that didn't watch a huge amount of Brood War, and I'm one of them, honestly. So explain why exactly TVT in StarCraft 2 is similar to StarCraft 1.
Because it's a very positional play. I mean, in the only big difference now is that you can build Marines. In StarCraft 1, it was all Vultures, which is the equivalent of a Hellion.
Yeah.
And it was all Vulture tank play. And then switching up to air as the game dragged on. So it's very similar with the tank positions. And I mean, mOoNan can look at a map and be like, all right, cool, there's the positions my tank's going to be. This is how I'm going to play this map. Whereas ThorZaIN, you know, coming from a Warcraft 3 background, has a different perspective.
Yeah, very micro-intensive. Often you'll find Warcraft 3 players happen to be. The whole term Warcraft 3 micro is becoming very, very common, very ubiquitous within this particular community. Now, mOoNan has not picked up gas yet. That is an interesting start. Do we think fast expansion, or do we think something else?
Yeah, most likely fast expansion. Very safe to do fast expansion on this build because the way the lower ramp is situated, it's very easy to defend. The only thing you have to be careful about when you are going for fast expansion is if your opponent rushes to get those siege tanks out and get siege tech out and also start sieging down onto your bottom refineries on your natural. Could be very dangerous, so you're going to have to prepare for that. Either get stim out really fast or try to get your own siege tanks out. We'll have to see how that goes, and we can see ThorZaIN going for that refinery, and looks like he'll be throwing down a factory very, very shortly.
I would certainly think so. Once he's finished up with his supply depot, and this will no doubt be perfectly timed. My God, so it is incredibly well timed if he wanted to go for that. He decides not to. He's a bit chill about it. He could have gone straight into a factory if he wanted, but he was not so interested in doing it. But it's very interesting to see the resource counts of these players when you watch them. Just of how perfectly things end at just the right time to start the next one. And that's a lot of practice in play there.
And mOoNan is moving into the middle of the map, will take control of these Xel'Naga towers. Meanwhile, adding on both of these refineries is most likely going to rush up to siege tech ASAP. You do not want to get contained on this map. It's very likely that you will, because the way the choke point is on that lower natural ramp is that you're going to filter through down there. And if you let somebody contain you, it could be very hard to deal with. And the best way to deal with that, if you do get contained, is to do a lot of drops. So ThorZaIN most likely will know that already. If I know it, ThorZaIN knows it, so he'll be well prepared for that.
And this is an interesting version of the map because it is the one with the rocks in the back, in fact. This is the IGN cloaked version, and they've chosen to go with the one with the rocks. So that's going to shake things up a little bit.
And look at this, ThorZaIN actually adding on 2 reactors now onto the factory and the barracks, which is interesting. You usually see it just one, and then the tech lab on the other, and you can switcheroo over to whatever you feel like doing. So it's interesting he goes for 2, so we are going to see a lot of Marines out, and a lot of Hellions out, obviously. And the starport has been added on too. We might see some aggressive drop play quite fast here from ThorZaIN.
I would certainly think so. It seems fairly likely. If you're going to go with Hellions and Marines, you're not going to want to charge into a tank line, which is what's going to end up happening once mOoNan gets that siege tech up and running. There's the first Hellion and the second following up right there. Good Marine count right here for ThorZaIN as well. He's already sitting on 5, and he's building at a fairly impressive rate off a single barracks, as opposed to mOoNan, who actually has 2.
Indeed. And the command set is just finishing for ThorZaIN now, and mOoNan's orbital command is finished now, but as you can see, saving up his gas already. He could be going into Cloak Banshees from here. I mean, it's not unheard of, rather than going for the siege tech so fast, but at the same time now we have ThorZaIN pushing out, And we do have a Medivac in production, so it looks like he's just going to take the Xel'Naga towers and then most likely lift into the main base of mOoNan and try and do as much damage as possible here.
I'd say you're pretty much bang on the money when it comes to that starport and the Banshee, honestly, considering that he didn't throw down a tech lab immediately on that factory. The swap around is very, very likely. Admittedly, he is actually going to put a siege tank out, so you never know. That just might have been some very odd timing. We'll find out shortly. That's the nature of TVT, folks. So much variety.
Yeah, I mean, he has to get siege tech. I don't know why you'd build a tank without the siege tech here. So, and now we have ThorZaIN pushing out. Here he comes, and we do have one Medivac coming in. Won't be able to really do too much up that ramp there.
No.
There are a lot of Marines here, but I'm sure we'll be wanting to lift into that main base.
Yeah, it's going to be an elevation. mOoNan's defense was very solid there. The thing is, mOoNan is not aware of the drop capability, as you can see, because he has held all the way back. Now he's moving backwards. The spread was good against the Hellions there, but when these Marines are moving, splitting against these Hellions is very, very difficult to do. And there's the initial fire doing some good damage. He tries to flank around. The thing is, that tank is actually going to chew its way through the Hellions very fast. So I do suppose it does have a little bit of use, but it will die eventually to those Marines. And here we go. Marines now charging into the base, and all of the Marines of mOoNan have been cleaned up quite nicely. And this could be some bad damage to the economy of mOoNan if he's not careful.
And he needs some more Hellions. He's going to bring these Hellions into the base too to combat against these Marines. Marines obviously going to demolish the Marines on them by themselves. Another tank is out though, will help to defend against this. I think mOoNan should be able to push this back now. I think he has enough, but it's going to be close.
It will be close. It depends on whether ThorZaIN is able to bring big fire down on the tank immediately, and what he focuses, he goes for the tank, actually. So that was some good initial damage from the Heli. Cleaned up, and ThorZaIN has got this one. I don't think mOoNan's going to be able to defend against this now, not without pulling a major number of SCVs.
Wow, that siege tank was in horrible position. I have no idea why he had it at the front there. And now he's pulling off all these SCVs. He's going to do so much economic damage here.
Ouch, ouch. You can just see the dollars disappearing down the drain as ThorZaIN chews his way through that. And you know what? He might even end up holding this, if you can actually believe that. He's out of there, and now, of course, this expansion is completely undefended. Wow,
25 SCVs versus 42 now. ThorZaIN completely dominating just with that very early drop play, while in the background we do have ThorZaIN basically just getting up more barracks, more tech labs on here, going to start the upgrades for his Marines and so on, and now adding on siege tanks and siege tech of his own. Gets a huge lead there, and even comes in with this Banshee. Hasn't got any kills yet inside the base of mOoNan, but will be able to get one SCV, but does go down. So, bit of a waste of money there, but still a commanding lead if we look at the supply tab. 46 versus 28, and the overall supply is 49, so low at 10 minutes for mOoNan versus 73 of ThorZaIN.
It's not exactly what I call ideal, is it? And mOoNan being forced to build a couple of Vikings, and there's no more Banshees following up here, so I have to think that ThorZaIN kind of did that on purpose to try and force a few more Vikings out, and that will, of course, lower the number of troops on the ground for mOoNan, and since his economy is already pretty battered, that's going to be a critical problem for him. ThorZaIN is moving in with some drop ships, some Medivacs right there, a tank, and, of course, a Marine. And mOoNan with an initial scouting force, which gets cleaned up very, very easily here by ThorZaIN. And every little bit counts for mOoNan right now. He can't afford to throw troops away.
Especially when you're this far behind at the moment. He's trying to squeeze in a third command center inside his main. That could be the bring back, the comeback for mOoNan here if he manages to get that into an orbital command. And his economy will start to bloom back up. But at the same time, ThorZaIN already has a command center at 75%. And we do have a Viking that landed on the base of ThorZaIN here, forcing a lot of SCVs to be pulled off. Does a little bit of damage, killed a few SCVs, but nothing too big to bring the game back now. 53 still SCVs versus 35.
Yep, now 55, in fact, for ThorZaIN. It's looking very strong for him right now. He's just going to sit back, relax, all cool, and honestly, he doesn't need to push in right now. He is not too concerned about it, and he will probably move for a contain, I would imagine, on this natural expansion.
Oh yeah, definitely try to contain here. I mean, he's ahead of upgrades too. Combat shield's just about to finish now. There it goes, is finished. Stim's not too far away, starting +1, and a nice containment here. And it's going to be very hard for mOoNan to break that, I think.
Well, about to find out. There is a dropship moving out right here, Medivac full of Marines, so I don't know if mOoNan actually saw that one, but whatever the case, we've got some Vikings up here for ThorZaIN, so he's got good visibility up here. Very, very effective indeed. He's now going to start battering this, and in comes the drop right here. Oh, it's taken out. Very nicely played there by mOoNan. Admittedly, 4 of the Marines did survive, so it's going to force mOoNan to pull back, and this is actually an opportunity right here for ThorZaIN. If he wants to go in, he could break that bunker line.
Yeah, I mean, he's destroying the refineries, which is so important for mOoNan right now. In the meantime, he's even taking the third zone in the background now, ThorZaIN, so he's so far ahead right now. mOoNan does actually get this third base up, but cannot use it by any means yet. And now we're going to have to see, can mOoNan finally break this line? He doesn't even have the Viking lead. ThorZaIN has that as well, so it's going to be very, very hard to stop this.
It's tricky, no question. mOoNan does have 3 tanks, but the question is, can he get the positioning on it? ThorZaIN is only sitting on 2 right now, and here's the interception moving in. That's a scouting marine sent out to check the positioning of mOoNan's tanks, and ThorZaIN is going to be forced to respond to this. And he's stimming in quite rapidly, but he's going to take major tank shelling in the process. A reasonable split right there. He gets the cleanup. Unbelievably, he manages to take the tanks down.
And once again, mOoNan pushed back onto nothing almost. And so hard for him to come back from it. I don't know how he's going to do that. He does get the 3rd base up with a planetary fortress, but still has no really SCVs there. Can't throw mules down there, but can't really mine efficiently from it. And now SCVs are getting shelled as well as they move down. And I don't know how he's going to break this. He's going to have to pull SCVs off, but he's already so far behind in the SCVs. 40 to 75. ThorZaIN taking a 4th base.
Because hey, why not?
Just completely trolling this game.
Yes, there is no real question about that one. ThorZaIN has got this one on lockdown. He's got an armory coming up as well for upgrades, another reactor coming down, another siege tank coming up. Because, to be honest, mOoNan is going to have to do something very special to break this. This is like one of the largest containers I've ever seen. He is all over the map. And mOoNan is forced to stay with this 3rd base. He can't go anywhere else. He can't take a 4th. There's just no real question about that unless he decides to take it at the back, which is, of course, risky in and of itself. mOoNan decides he must sally forth to try and deal with this. He cleans up 1 and he takes a 2nd with bare minimal losses. Admittedly, he loses the medevac in the process as the Vikings take it out. And he even manages to keep the Viking alive for a little while. I think he's going to die now. He just decides he doesn't really care. Right?
Yeah, even though he cleans up 1 position on his natural, he's now got to clean up another position. 3 more tanks shelling down onto this planetary fortress. And this one's going to be a little bit harder to defend, especially... Oh, he is. He's going to put a siege tank on top of the high ground, too.
Sneaky. That's perfect positioning right there. Admittedly, could have been a little bit further forward. He would have actually been able to hit that, but they're going to move into range of that one way or the other, and mOoNan's going to take massive damage. This is kind of a desperate ploy right here by mOoNan. Trying to clean up. There's no way he's going to be able to do it, not with that many siege tanks. And ThorZaIN takes a couple of hits from the Ibex cannon of the planetary fortress, but he is able to pull back, and now the shelling will continue, and this is a big drain on the economy of mOoNan.
Yeah, 69 food versus 150. Complete domination. Income tab 1,800 versus 1,000. Almost double at the moment, so I have no idea how he's going to break this. And I think he's just going to be suffocated here. ThorZaIN's just going to sit in the middle of the map. I wouldn't be surprised if you threw down a sensor tower or something on the left-hand side so we can actually stop any drops incoming or see them.
Right stim right there. Yeah. Good stim push. Very good indeed. Supported by a tank. Bare minimum losses on ThorZaIN's side. He catches the tank before it deploys as well. He is very happy with how this game's going.
Yeah, I mean, he can just sit here probably taking his mouse and keyboard out, unplug them, doesn't need it anymore. And I don't know, this is it. I mean, there's nothing really to say about this. mOoNan is completely suffocated right now. Choke point.
Yeah, I've heard rumors that ThorZaIN actually controls TBT entirely with his mind, and by the looks of it, that is fairly accurate. ThorZaIN has a spread. Every single possible avenue of attack is covered. If mOoNan moves out in any direction, he will be shelled, and that is very unpleasant. This is the nightmare situation that a lot of Terran versus Terran matches end up being in, where one player just has such a positional advantage that the other player is going to have a trouble breaking it. Although, saying that, ThorZaIN is forced backwards, but I don't really think that that's because he's going to take massive damage here. I think he just wants to reposition, try and flank this force and clean it up.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Look at the spread from mOoNan right here. It looks like some kind of crazy arcane symbol. But right now, ThorZaIN charging him with a huge line of Marines. GG! Just... what were you going to do against that?
Nothing. There's nothing you can do at all against that. Nice play by ThorZaIN, and completely takes that game very easily, I think, in that 3rd game. And now tables are turned once again for mOoNan. We're going to have to step it up another level because ThorZaIN is showing us why he's the TSL champion.
No question about that one, folks. And I think mOoNan has got to actively try and starve his opponent of information, because we've seen what ThorZaIN can do where he's sort of flapping around blindly, and sometimes it doesn't end up so fantastic. In this case, mOoNan was not able to deny that scouting information, and ThorZaIN knew exactly what he was doing at all times. He had full control of the map, he had great visibility, and of course his positioning, absolutely perfect, and positioning so vital in TBT. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be going to the 4th game very shortly. Don't go anywhere.